Forget about closing. If you want to be successful in sales, I don't care whether you're selling memberships, $1 million pieces of equipment, large projects, you name it, it doesn't matter. Closing is not where you want to focus your time. There's experts talking about nothing but closing. Now, closing's important, but if you don't prospect effectively, you'll have nothing to close. In fact, I'll go so far as to tell you that it's not about the ABCs of selling, always be closing. It's about the ABPs of sales and selling, which is you should always be prospecting. So today I'm going to talk about the 4 keys you need to be a master, or to at least become a master at prospecting, and make it part of your stable of tools to be successful in sales. Hey, make sure you hit that subscribe button and you can stay up to date on the videos I release each and every week. And if you hit the bell, you'll be notified anytime there's an update, a new video released, or even comments that are added so you can join the conversation. And hey, make sure you comment below if you've got strategies that work well for you to build and retain that prospecting habit. Hi, I'm Shawn Casemore, and I've been selling stuff since I was 11. What do I mean by stuff? Well, I've sold everything from cars to memberships to charity events, to large pieces of equipment, to widgets, you name it, I've sold it. And the key that I've found over the years is that there are certain habits and practices that top sales performers use in order to be successful. So about 20 years ago, tells you how old I am, I started studying the habits of top sales performers in order to identify what are those things that they do to be successful. Prospecting is one of them. So today, let's jump into the 4 keys that you'll need to master prospecting and be the top of the class when it comes to selling in your organization. All right, now if you can't tell, I'm fairly passionate about prospecting. In fact, I think it's one of the key skills that most sales professionals don't spend enough time on in order to be successful. In fact, I'd suggest to you that one of the key reasons that most people don't stay in a career in sales is because they don't really understand, number 1, how important prospecting is. Number 2, how to prospect effectively. And number 3, how to build the repeat habits that ensure that they are always prospecting. So let's jump into the 4 keys to help you master being a prospector in your business. So step number 1, first thing you got to start with is being very clear in who your buyer is. Now you might say, well, Shawn, understanding who my buyer is has nothing to do with prospecting. That is completely false. Here's why. If I'm prospecting, let's run through a scenario here. I'm probably making some outreach calls, sending some emails. I might be on LinkedIn or on social media looking at people and their titles, the businesses that they work in, reaching out and sending messages. Later in the day, I might go for lunch with somebody and ask them for a referral. In the afternoon, I might have some meetings with clients. All of this requires that I know who I'm looking for. If I'm going to prospect effectively, I have to be very clear on what's the title of the individual I'm searching for, what's their role, what's important about the role, what's important to them typically for somebody in their role, what industry or sector are they in? Are there certain regions of the country that they're situated in that I should be focused on? Right? All of these things help me to be very clear in who I'm looking for, and that ensures that my prospecting is effective. And here's the key. If I try to prospect and I'm not actually successful, meaning I'm talking to a lot of people, but I'm just not converting them from prospect to customer, then I'm going to give up. I'm going to say, well, this prospecting thing doesn't work for me. So that is why step 1, I got to be clear in who I'm going after. Who is my buyer? Because being clear in that will ensure that I have a greater chance of success of converting them from a buyer to a customer. All right, point number 2 is that you have to set targets. Now, what do we mean by targets? Well, it's really breaking down the number of people that you need to connect with daily, weekly, and monthly. But just as important, how much time are you going to invest in trying to connect with these people? Here's why this is important. Malcolm Gladwell in his book, Outliers, talks about the fact it takes 10,000 hours of practice in something to become an expert. You really want to be looking at the number of people you reach out to, but more importantly, the amount of time you spend in prospecting to reach that expert level. So if you're spending 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, that's 20 hours a week towards your 10,000 hours. So if you want to become a real expert in prospecting, you need to set targets for yourself. Again, not just by numbers of people you're going to reach out to, but the amount of time you're going to invest. I often tell business owners and executives, you need to spend 40 or 50% of your time in sales if you're the top salesperson for the organization. If you're in sales, you're spending hopefully 100% of your time, but if you're getting pulled away into other duties, account management duties, internal meetings, you need to go back and really set aside and block out time for prospecting. So if you want to be an expert, set some targets and goals to ensure you hit that 10,000 hour mark. All right, if you're enjoying these strategies around how to be an expert in prospecting, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all the new videos I release. There's at least one every week, as well as if you click on the bell, you'll be notified when there's a comment, an update, or a new video released. I'd love for you to make a comment below on what strategies work well for you to prospect, and we can build this place as a place of best practices for prospecting experts. All right, point number 3, to master prospecting, you have to become comfortable being uncomfortable. Let me say that again. Sounds confusing. You have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Let me give you an example. When I started selling cars in my early 20s, one of the strategies I decided to use was to hand out flyers. Now, I could walk around the neighborhood of where I lived and put these flyers on people's windshields, but I decided to knock on doors. Now, I don't know if you've ever done a lot of door knocking, but it's interesting, to say the least, when it comes to sales. Now, that said, at first I was quite nervous. I didn't want to do it. Some people are having dinner, they weren't very happy with me. Some people said, leave me alone. Some people just, look through the curtain at me, wonder what I was doing, some sort of weirdo knocking on their door. The point is this, it was a little bit uncomfortable to start, but I knew that I had to keep at it if I really wanted to build a base of clients that would at least think of me when it comes to buying a car. And what do you know? People started showing up carrying this flyer. So that was really, for me, an example of, well, it's an uncomfortable thing to do, but it's necessary. And you know what? The more I did it, the more I became comfortable with it. So if there's something you need to do or should be doing relative to prospecting and you're not comfortable, maybe you don't like cold calling, maybe you don't like sending cold emails, maybe you don't like networking, I'd suggest you put yourself in a situation to do those things. Because the reality is, the more you do those things you're uncomfortable with, the more they'll become natural. You'll figure it out and you'll become comfortable. And prospecting requires certain things we do repetitively that are uncomfortable. So become comfortable with the uncomfortable. All right, strategy number 4 to become master of prospecting is have a magnetic personality. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if you are to pick up the phone and call people and reach out to them, but you're very much monotone in your voice, there's not a lot of inflection, there's not a lot of volume, right? You become somebody that's very forgettable. And that means your prospecting itself is going to fail, right? Prospecting, if I connect with you, I want you to remember me. So you have to think about, well, how do I ensure you remember me? It could be the volume of my voice. If I'm networking, it could be the fact I wear bright red glasses. If I have a business card, it might be some really bright color or odd shape on the business card that makes me stand out. Anything that allows you to stand out, right, and be magnetic, be somebody that others remember, will help you be successful in prospecting. Because just because I connect with you doesn't mean you're going to think of me or remember me when it comes time that you need to buy my product or service. But if I'm memorable, if I'm magnetic, you're going to be drawn to me, you're going to remember me, and that's going to ensure that my efforts in prospecting lead to actually having a discussion and a conversion towards being a customer. Now, if you are a sales expert and you're using these strategies to become a prospecting expert and to always be prospecting, you'll want to use the link below to grab my 30-day sales action planner. It's a free resource to use, but allows you to map out all the different steps and actions that you want to take and then track your progress on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And after all, we know it takes at least between 30 and 90 days to build a new habit. So you can use this planner to make sure you put these habits into your calendar, get them scheduled, and make them happen. Now, if you are already an expert at prospecting, but you're trying to use these strategies in order to sell into big companies, then you'll want to watch this video next to learn some additional strategies about how to sell to big companies. I appreciate you joining me on this video. Make sure you check out my YouTube channel for a variety of other videos on how to become a sales master. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.